After discovering my husband, who's my childhood companion, has a preference for older women, I'm counting down to divorce. I've been married to Jack for 12 years. My millionaire husband has fallen in love with the new receptionist at his company. She's nearly 40, not as pretty as me, and doesn't have as good a figure. Yet in just 6 short months, she gave Jack something I apparently couldn't, emotional value. Jack looked at me wearily and said, "If we divorce, you can have the house and the car. Olivia, can you please just let me go?" I lowered my eyes and said softly, "All right." Then I bought a calendar and circled a date. Divorce countdown, 30 days. When I pushed the divorce agreement in front of Jack, it had only been 40 minutes since he told me about the affair and asked for a divorce. As requested, the house, the car, and custody of our child would all go to me. He agreed to give me a one-time payment of $2 million for compensation and child support. After that, our child and I would no longer bother him. At that moment, Jack was in the middle of a conference call. He glanced down, saw the words divorce agreement, and his expression changed, just for a second. Then he nodded. He understood. I left the room. To save time, I packed up all of Jack's clothes and belongings. 3 full suitcases. Afraid I might forget something, I even included his childhood photos from the attic. Finally, I noticed our wedding photo in the corner. In it, Jack looked handsome and confident, while I smiled sweetly. We were embracing under the sunlight, without a care in the world. That was back when he used to hold me close and whisper, "Honey, I love you so much. I'm so lucky to have married you." We met in college. Back then, Jack was just a poor boy in worn-out canvas shoes. I had plenty of suitors, but I fell for him at first sight. He was calm, kind, good-looking, and had a quiet determination I admired. We got married right after graduation. He started a company with his friends. When I got pregnant, I became a full-time housewife. I devoted myself completely to our family. As his business grew, so did his social life. Dinners, meetings, late nights. Even so, I stayed in shape, learned about makeup, and kept up with fashion. And Jack didn't disappoint. No matter how busy he was, he came home to care for our child and helped with his mother too. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. The perfect family. I don't know exactly when it changed. Jack started staying out late more often. Meetings that lasted into the night. Sometimes he didn't come home at all. Friends joked I should keep an eye on him. I laughed it off, but deep down I felt uneasy. A few times I brought him late-night snacks to his office. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Just coworkers in a meeting. The receptionist, Rachel, sitting quietly at her desk. She was in her early 40s, short, thin, with short hair. Plain-looking, but with a surprisingly gentle voice. She always greeted me politely. I'd always imagined that, if this day came, it would be because of a pretty secretary or some young intern, or maybe a powerful female CEO. I never imagined it would be Rachel. I heard she had been cheated on in her marriage and divorced. This was her first job since then, and she took it very seriously. She arrived early, learned everyone's preferences, even baked pastries. Some co-workers started ordering lunch from her. I told Jack to look out for her, since she seemed to be going through a tough time. He had replied coldly, "The office isn't for emotional attachments. I've already told her not to run side businesses." At the time, I teased him for being too harsh. Now, I wonder if he was just upset she had to cook for others instead of only for him. As for why Jack chose today to ask for a divorce, he came home drunk last night. This morning, I made him hangover soup as usual. He looked at it, sighed, and pushed it aside. After a long silence, he looked up at me, exhausted, and said he wanted a divorce. He admitted the affair had been going on for 6 months. Every time he said he was working late, he was actually at a hotel, with her. My heart trembled. I struggled to stay calm. I asked who it was. When he said Rachel, I thought I'd misheard. A cold, helpless feeling washed over me. When Jack finished his meeting and came out, I had already eaten, cleaned the kitchen, and was watching TV like nothing had happened. He went to take a shower, but quickly realized there were no towels. He called out from the bathroom like always, "Honey, where's my bath towel?" Without looking away from the TV, I answered, "I packed it. You can use mine. I'll throw it away later." He went quiet. When he came out, he finally noticed the 3 suitcases by the door. He sat across from me and pushed the divorce agreement toward me with his fingertips. "I can give you $1.5 million up front for child support, and the rest can be paid monthly." I interrupted. "No need. Let's make it a lump sum. I doubt she'd be comfortable with us staying in touch." Jack looked confused. "The child isn't just yours. I have the right to be involved. I know I made a mistake and I'll pay, but don't use our child as leverage." I paused the show and looked at him seriously. "The affair was your choice. It's only fair you pay compensation and support. Considering your wealth, me keeping the house and car isn't too much. I've raised our son since he was born. He's sensitive. He needs care. How much time will you really have for him while you're off enjoying your new relationship? Being a father isn't just about money. It's about time, presence, and love." I opened the agreement. The $2 million is for both support and compensation. If you want to give more, transfer it to our son. I'll open a separate account just for him. Jack let out a bitter laugh. I never knew you were so obsessed with money. That's all you talk about. What else is there? I asked quietly. Is loving you useful? He went silent. Then, with a furrowed brow, he signed the papers without another word. He also arranged for us to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau the next day to apply for the divorce. Then he called his driver. I finished watching my show and went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, Jack was already gone. Our son ran out of his room and hugged me, excitedly telling me about a happy dream he had last night. As I listened, I gently told him that Daddy's company was very busy lately, so he might have to go on long business trips. Surprisingly, he didn't ask, "When is Dad coming back?" like he usually did. He just said, "Oh," and pursed his little lips. "It's okay. I have Mom with me." That moment shattered me. I turned away and rushed into the bathroom, unable to hold back my tears. Agreeing to divorce Jack hurt, but what hurt most was feeling like I had failed our son. Like I couldn't give him the complete family he deserved. But deep down, I knew it wasn't my fault. After dropping our son off at school, Jack and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. There's a 30-day cooling-off period before we can receive the divorce certificate. Back in the car, I marked the date on my calendar. Divorce countdown, 30 days. I wondered whether I should tell my parents now. I grew up in the city. All my relatives and friends are here. My parents are retired teachers. I'm their only daughter. They've always been open-minded, but my dad's health hasn't been the best these past few years. I thought, maybe I should wait a little longer. A couple of days later, Jack called. He rarely called me. He usually messaged me on Snapchat because he said I always replied quickly. But I had already deleted him from my contacts. Still, I picked up. His voice sounded normal. "Olivia, your mom just called me. She said she made a lot of food and wants us to come over for dinner. Your dad's not doing well. Maybe we should wait to tell them about the divorce. What time should we go? Oh, and next Sunday is your dad's birthday. Should I still go with you?" I had been unsure, but his words helped me make a decision. I said calmly, "No, that won't be necessary." Jack replied, "You don't have to be stubborn. Your dad's health is more important." I responded quietly, "If you really cared about that, you wouldn't have cheated or asked for a divorce now. My dad might be weak physically, but his mind is clear. And I believe he wouldn't want me to stay in a marriage without loyalty." Jack. Don't call me again. If you want to see our son, follow the agreement. Once a week. Jack's tone immediately changed. "Olivia, I'll say this again. Jason is my son too. He's my family. But you're the one who gave up on that family, aren't you?" There was silence. Then, I heard him slam the phone down. I hung up and pulled myself together. I decided to drive to the mall. All the bedding, the sofa, the furniture Jack liked. I wanted to replace it all. And I wanted everything in stock. I didn't want to wait. After furnishing the place anew, I deep cleaned the house from top to bottom. Then I went to my mother's. When she saw me arrive without Jack, she assumed he was just busy. I stood there silently, my heart beating faster. "Mom," I finally whispered. She turned, set down what she was doing, and looked into my eyes. Without saying a word, she gently pulled me into her arms. She didn't ask anything. As a mother, she could feel it. She knew. I tried to speak calmly as I explained everything to her. She quietly handed me a tissue to wipe my tears. Then, in her soft voice, she said, "It's okay, honey. Divorce is common these days. If he wasn't faithful, it's better to end it early. But, Olivia, I have one request." Her eyes grew moist. She held my hand tightly. "No matter what happens, don't ever get back together with him." I nodded through tears. "Okay, Mom." After dinner, my parents went to their room and talked for a long time. When they came out, my dad handed me a big red envelope. He smiled and said, "Today marks a new beginning. It's worth celebrating. I hope my precious daughter will always be happy and truly blessed." When I picked up our son from school, he told me Grandpa had called and said he missed him. He wanted to know if he could stay over for a week. He was so excited, especially because Grandpa promised to let him fly a drone. I was a little surprised, but I helped him pack a small suitcase and drove him over. After I dropped him off, my mom walked me to the car and said gently, "Olivia, cheer up. Go out, have some fun." As I sat in the car, I saw her standing there, watching me quietly until I drove away. I flipped open the car mirror and looked at my reflection. My face was pale. I looked drained. I took out my makeup bag and applied a bright shade of lipstick. Then I went home, packed a few things, and took a spontaneous trip. For a week, I traveled from place to place, met new people, heard new stories, and saw things I had never seen before. By the time I returned, I felt lighter, more alive. I looked at the calendar. Divorce countdown, 21 days. I got back just in time for my dad's birthday. This year, they decided to host it at a hotel and invite relatives and friends for a small gathering. The hotel wasn't far from our home. There were 5 banquet tables filled with familiar faces. Naturally, many people asked about Jack. Luckily, our son had an extracurricular class that day and wasn't able to attend. My parents didn't answer any of the questions directly. Just as my dad was about to go up and give his birthday speech, Jack showed up. He was dressed in a sharp suit, holding multiple gift bags and a large red envelope. The room buzzed as everyone greeted him. He waited for my dad to step down from the stage, then handed him the red envelope. "Dad, happy birthday." My dad glanced at it briefly and said coolly, "Mr. Wilson, you're too kind. But there's no need for gifts. Since you and Olivia are already divorced, I don't think it's appropriate to accept your money." Jack's face froze. The entire room fell silent. He lowered his voice. "We're still in the agreement stage." But my dad simply shook his head and said, "It's all the same." Then he turned back to the guests and invited everyone to enjoy the meal. Jack just stood there for a moment, still gripping the gift bags. My mom walked over and, without a word, gently handed them back to him. He turned and left. After that, no one brought him up again. And in the future, no one would ask me about Jack. And that was for the best. My heart was finally starting to heal. I was learning to let go. I shed the title of Mrs. Wilson. I became Olivia Chin again. Even the property management and the housekeeper at Jack's company somehow got the memo. They stopped calling me Mrs. Wilson and began addressing me as Miss Chin. I didn't waste time. I threw myself into something new. I decided to open a coffee shop. There was a cozy little place up for sale. I liked the location and the decor, so I signed the contract without hesitation. The original staff stayed on, which was helpful, but I wanted to rework the menu and adjust the flavors. I also had plans to change the storefront and redecorate. We decided on a soft opening for now. After a long day finalizing details, I was just about to head home when I glanced at the calendar in my car. Divorce countdown, 15 days. That's when I got a call from Emma, a girl from Jack's company. She's the type with an outgoing, bold personality, very direct and easy to like. She asked if I was busy. When I told her I wasn't, she jumped right in, ranting, "Olivia, are you seriously getting divorced from Jack?" I didn't hide it. She asked if it was because of Rachel. I didn't know why she said that. Maybe Jack had already made it public. When I didn't respond, Emma let out a dramatic sigh. "Miss Chin, I knew it. I knew it was because of that woman. No wonder you haven't brought us afternoon tea lately. I miss you so much." Back when Jack and I were together, I used to bring afternoon tea almost every week to his office, just to thank his colleagues. The staff would always joke that they wanted to keep working there just to eat Mrs. Wilson's treats. I smiled faintly. "It's okay. I'm opening a coffee shop soon. When it's ready, come by and I'll treat you." Emma gasped with excitement. "Wow, send me the address." I told her I would. Then she continued complaining. "You have no idea what Rachel is like. After you stopped coming, she went from receptionist to office manager almost overnight. And her attitude changed too. She used to smile at everyone, but now she just finds fault with people. That smug look on her face is unbearable. She even started dressing like you, same style of dresses, same high heels. Anyone with eyes can see what she's doing. I honestly don't understand Mr. Wilson's taste anymore." She added, "If it weren't for my mortgage, I'd have quit by now. I can't stand looking at her face every day." I had just arrived home. Emma was still venting, so I comforted her a bit more before she reluctantly hung up. Strangely, I no longer cared much about Rachel. When Jack first confessed the affair, I had gone crazy trying to figure out what kind of charm she had. Now I didn't want to know anymore. I opened the door and froze. Jack's shoes were by the entrance. He was in the living room, playing a video game with our son. "Mom, come quick," our son shouted, beaming. "Let's beat Dad together." In the past, Jack would scoop him up, tickle him until he burst out laughing, and then chase after me until the whole house echoed with joy. Now Jack just gave a small cough and ruffled his hair. "Mom's tired. She's been out all day. Next time, okay?" Our son pouted. "Okay. Dad, when will you stop going on business trips?" Jack thought for a second and replied softly, "Soon." Then he told our son it was bedtime. I had no energy to make small talk. After a long day at the cafe, I simply reminded Jack to close the door properly when he left. He paused. "I promised Jason I'd sleep with him tonight." I didn't argue. I just walked to my room and shut the door. Not long after, I heard Jack's phone ring in the living room. He answered. His tone was calm at first, but soon dropped into a quiet impatience. "I told you, I'm just here for Jason. What are you so afraid of? I've already signed the divorce agreement. How many times do I have to say it? We're not sleeping in the same room." Then came silence. A few seconds later, he knocked gently on my door. "Olivia, something urgent came up at the company. I have to go. I'll come see Jason again tomorrow." I didn't open the door. I simply said, "Okay." My voice was quiet but clear. Not long after he left, I got a bank notification. $50,000 had been transferred to Jason's account. The note read, Take our son out for something nice tomorrow. I didn't reply. I opened my laptop to look at some renovation ideas for the coffee shop. Then a message popped up on Snapchat from an unfamiliar contact. No words. Just a smiley face emoji. The profile picture was a bouquet of flowers. No posts, no status. I didn't even remember when I had added this person. I scrolled up. The last message was from 2 years ago. Before I could make sense of it, another message arrived. You must be feeling pretty smug, huh? Instantly, I had a feeling it was Rachel. But hadn't she only joined Jack's company 6 months ago? Then how did she have my Snapchat from 2 years ago? Had she been watching me all this time? My heart skipped. I typed back a single question mark. She replied quickly. No matter what you do to keep him, I can make him come to me anytime I want. It really was her. So Jack hadn't known her for just 6 months. Maybe it had been years. She sent a photo. I opened it. It was Jack, shirtless, sleeping in a hotel bed. A woman's hand rested on his chest. In the bottom right corner, the date, February 16th, 2023. My stomach twisted violently. February 16th, 2023. That was the day of my dad's first surgery, right after his health began to decline. Jack had told me he was away on business. He had promised to postpone meetings just to be by my side. He had video called me all night, telling me to stay calm, to rest, to be strong. He had arrived at the hospital early that morning, holding me close as I waited outside the operating room. And yet, that very same day, he had slept with Rachel. How could he return to me, hold me, lie to me, so easily? I didn't respond to her message. But she kept going. More photos came in, each with a date. Our wedding anniversary. Our son's birthday. Every special moment. He had been with Rachel first, then rushed home to smile at me. I bent over and threw up into the trash can beside the desk. I thought he had just gotten tired of me these past 6 months. That he had fallen out of love. Found something new. But the truth? He had been rotting inside for a long time. I went to wash my face, wiped the tears, and returned to my laptop. I saved every photo, every message, every date. I knew Rachel had sent these because the full $2 million from the divorce agreement hadn't been transferred yet. So far, Jack had sent $8 million. There was still $12 million left. The house and car were already under my name, fully paid off. The agreement was clear. There were no legal disputes. But if I started a fight now, if I made a scene, it would affect Jack's company. He would retaliate, and my son would lose his father completely. When Jack told me about the affair and asked for a divorce, he probably thought I'd scream, cry, throw things. But I didn't. And Rachel hadn't expected that either. The fact that I didn't explode, didn't confront them. That silence was what unsettled her the most. Because now, she couldn't tell what I was planning. And whoever lost their cool first would lose. But one thing puzzled me. Rachel had hidden her true self for so long, pretending to be kind, innocent, harmless. Why was she suddenly so impatient? In just 15 days, Jack and I would be fully separated. Why start a fight now? Why get anxious over Jack visiting our son? It didn't make sense. I checked the time. It wasn't too late. I called Emma. She was having dinner with some colleagues. They were gossiping about Jack and Rachel. Everyone was exchanging information. And I learned something new. 2 weeks ago at a business dinner, Jack got very drunk. A beautiful female CEO they'd been working with drove him home herself. Since then, she had been meeting Jack privately. And because I hadn't brought tea to the office in a while, everyone thought Jack and I had a falling out. Rumors spread. Some young women started getting bold, throwing themselves at Jack. That's when Rachel started to panic. When the $12 million was finally transferred, I was in the middle of the soft opening of my coffee shop. I had made a few adjustments to the interior and released some discount coupons to attract customers. So far, the results were promising. A friend asked me if I didn't feel like I was losing out by accepting a lump sum buyout. But I told her, in business, nothing ever goes completely smoothly. There are always unpredictable things. Ups and downs are part of the process. And who can guarantee how long anything will last? A one-time payment is cleaner, less stressful. Most importantly, I didn't want to have to contact Jack every month. My friend nodded and said that made sense. Money in hand is the most real. Emma also dropped by for coffee during her break. She told me Jack had just landed a big deal and was busy with negotiations. Rachel came to work flaunting a new designer handbag, but she was noticeably quieter. Clearly, Jack had tried to calm her down with a gift. But Rachel's patience, it wasn't love. It was calculation. This was the fruit Jack had planted long ago. And soon, he'd have to reap the harvest. Just like that night at the restaurant. While Jack sat across from me eating, Rachel was standing just around the corner, watching us through the window. That same night, she sent me even more explicit photos, this time with her face partially visible. I already had everything packed up, photos, chat logs, screenshots, ready to be mailed directly to her husband the moment I received my divorce certificate. As I was organizing the last of the files, the doorbell rang. I got up and opened the door. It was Rachel. Her hair was freshly dyed and permed, and she was wearing a lipstick shade nearly identical to mine. Her eyes held something different now, a look of challenge. "Miss Chun," she said. "I'm sorry Mr. Wilson left his household registration book here. I came to pick it up for him." She stepped forward, but I blocked her path. When Jack and I signed the divorce agreement, he took the registration book with him. Rachel blinked, then smiled sweetly. "Is that so? Maybe Mr. Wilson remembered wrong. Actually, I also wanted to see you. Don't you think your behavior lately is a bit strategic? A little reverse psychology to keep Jack interested." She leaned closer, her voice dropping. "Jack may not realize it, but I do. You've been lurking on his Snapchat for 2 years." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh really? So stalking me for 2 years gives you insight into who I am." She laughed behind her hand, then suddenly pushed past my arm and stepped inside, eyes scanning the apartment. "Olivia Chun," she said, "I really thought you didn't care. But look at this, you've already changed the whole place. Afraid of feeling sad, are you?" Just then our son's sleepy voice called from his room. "Mom!" He had been woken up by her noise. He rubbed his eyes. "Is Dad here?" Rachel smiled and said softly, "Jason, I'm Aunt Rachel. Your dad's in a meeting and won't be back tonight. Tomorrow we'll see." I clenched my fists. I didn't answer her. Instead, I turned away and hurried to my son's room. He lay there looking small and disappointed. I sat beside him and gently stroked his hair. I whispered that I'd take him to the amusement park tomorrow. Just the two of us. His little eyes lit up slightly. "Really?" I smiled. "Really? Now go back to sleep, sweetheart." Once he closed his eyes again, I stepped back into the living room. Rachel was still there. She had poured herself a glass of red wine and was lounging comfortably like she owned the place. But I knew exactly why she had come. In a few days it would be Jack's father's birthday.